Hayden Ballantyne celebrates a goal during the Dockers' win over the Dogs. 1. We're heading for a cracking Western Derby that nobody expected. You would have been laughed out of town before the season started for claiming the Round 6 Western Derby could be one of the year's most anticipated matches, but the scene is set for a blockbuster at Optus Stadium next Sunday. Who would have predicted the regenerating Eagles would be sitting pretty as the only team to win 4 straight games by now? Certainly not Robert Walls, who backed them for the wooden spoon. But with Nick Naitanui making a huge difference and an injection of youth energizing the side, West Coast is suddenly a finals contender. As for the Dockers, their demolition of a woeful Western Bulldogs on Saturday night whetted the appetite for the 47th clash with their bitter crosstown rivals. Ross Leon's men are freewheeling, fun to watch and unbeaten at home, averaging more than 103 points per game. With 5 first-year players against the Dogs and a senior core leading the way, Rio's rebuild seems on track. While only 4 points are at stake for Fremantle's home game next Sunday, both WA teams are searching for a litmus test to find out where they are at. Oh, and there's the small matter of bragging rights for winning the first Western Derby at Optus Stadium. Bring it on. Travis King watch, first-year Docker sets the tone too. North, crazily, might be a top 8 hope expect anything. That's what the 2017 season taught us, but still we refuse to believe North Melbourne could be anything but a bottom 4 side this year. We know all about the Shinboner spirit and that the Roos retain several top-liners, including one of the game's best forwards and Ben Brown. But their midfield was supposedly pedestrian, outside of a select few, and the depth was largely non-existent. How wrong we have been so far, and particularly on Sunday. Sure, Hawthorn came with a rush to blot North's copybook somewhat by the final siren, but don't sleep on the Roos' first-half exploits and ability to grit out the win. 8 different players won multiple clearances, led by Ben Jacobs. 7. Top 5 draft pick Luke Davies-Uniacke was rested this weekend. Sam Wright, who, like Jacobs, didn't play any senior football last year because of injury, is another who could return next week, and Taylor Garner made his season debut in the VFL on Saturday. North Melbourne now boasts a 3-2 record and has given itself a chance to do something this season. Doomsayers be damned. Mark McGowan watch Brown curls home a cracker 3. Carlton's plan makes sense for any Blues fans unsure about their club's future. Watch Brendan Bolton's post-match media conference after the 10-point loss to West Coast, or read his comments. He asked people to consider what this young team, bereft of its experienced stars for now, would look like in a few years. Consider this: Patrick Cripps and Charlie Curnow could soon be considered among the best players in the competition, while Zach Fisher, Sam Petrevsky-Seton and Paddy Dow's class. Injured defensive pair Jacob Waitering and Caleb Marchbank will anchor the backline one day while Sam Doherty is just 24. At the other end of the ground, Harry McKay booted 4 goals against the Eagles. Just because the talent is there doesn't mean success will inevitably follow, because numerous rebuilds have gone wrong. However, Carlton's on-field nucleus looks very sound. Denis Navarrete nom 4, after a year from hell, Lids, is back. Britt Deladio was best afield for Greater Western Sydney against St Kilda in Saturday's draw, with the former Tiger picking up 29 disposals and booting 2 important goals. He provided class across the contest and good drive whenever he had the ball, but most importantly had his zip back. Deladio played just 7 games in his first season for the Giants last year and has struggled with injury in recent times, including late in his career at Richmond. But the 2004 number 1 draft pick has started this year in top form, averaging 22 disposals across the opening 5 rounds of the year. It was a lackluster showing from the Giants against the Saints, but coach Leon Cameron would have taken plenty of heart from Deladio's effort. Callum Twomey—he's back. Lids lights up against Saints. 5. Seedsman has timed his run perfectly with elite kicker Brodie Smith missing for the season and the Crouch brothers and Rory Sloane battling their own injury worries. Paul Seedsman's arrival as a consistent line breaker has been timely to say the least. The former Magpie has always teased with his speed and quality foot skills, but setbacks with his body have never allowed the 26-year-old to fulfill his potential. So far it looks like 2018 is Seedsman's year, and judging by the way he torched Sydney, his upside must have the Crows excited. Playing on a wing, he had 14 possessions in the opening term, 9 of them contested, 3 inside 50s and 2 tackles, and while it was impossible to maintain that influence on the game, his brilliant goal in the third term, Adelaide's sole major for the quarter after the Swans had closed to within 4 points, was special. Seedsman is averaging 26.6 touches per game this season. His previous best was 18.9 back in 2013, and his running power, coupled with his ball use, arguably makes him Adelaide's most influential player right now. Adam Curley watch Crow sows the seeds for victory 6. Cats running machine transforms into key defender when Harry Taylor and Lachie Henderson went down with injury. The questions came thick and fast about Geelong's defensive depth. Cats coach Chris Scott turned to utility Mark Blicavs to move down back and take a key defensive post. Blicavs got the better of Port Adelaide spearhead Charlie Dixon in Saturday night's 34-point win against the Power at Adelaide Oval. Dixon was kept goalless and failed to have an impact as the Power kicked just 7 majors for the game. It's not just Blicavs who has stepped up. Jack Henry, 4 games, Tom Stewart, 26 games, and Jacques-Claude Jashnij, 52 games, are all playing valuable roles in a makeshift backline. Lee Gaskin, 7. When the pressure is on, the Suns are tough to be at. It's not a difficult formula for Gold Coast, but when they turn up the heat, they're hard to beat. In the opening fortnight against North Melbourne and Carlton, they rack up in excess of 90 tackles in each match and won. The following fortnight in Perth against Fremantle and West Coast was a different story, and a different result. They didn't tackle, they didn't defend, and they didn't pressure, but they did lose. So it was no surprise that when they got back to basics against the Lions, things turned around. Jared Harbrow smashing Ryan Bastanak, great forward pressure from Darcy McPherson and Nick Holman, and a defensive setup that stifled Brisbane's run made for a Suns outfit that was hard to beat, although the Lions gave it a red-hot go in the final term. Michael Whiting